But here's the serious topic today. Do you understand the Scottish voting system, and could tactical voting work or not? You will have two votes. One for your local MSP in your constituency, which is one of 73 constituencies. Then there's a second vote for a party, and you're voting here in just 8 larger regions, with each of these larger regions producing a further 7 MSPs. So there'll be 73 plus 56, that's 8 times 7, to make up the total of 129 MSPs.
Now, there is a special formula which is used for the second vote that means that if a party has lots of elected MSPs after counting the constituencies first, then they are less likely to get more regional or so-called additional MSPs.
Yeah, there's a couple of good videos on this online. Professor John Curtice from the University of Strathclyde is the author of a recent study into voting at the Scottish election.
Does it therefore make sense to give your list vote to a party that may not actually as a result profit? Perhaps given also there may be other parties out there who perhaps might profit from a list vote who share some of the aspirations of the party you would otherwise support.
This is fascinating. I wonder if any of you are going to vote tactically. Well, I spoke to Professor Ailsa Henderson from the University of Edinburgh about that second stage, getting the 56 list MSPs.
We add together all the votes for the parties in that larger region, but we take into account the fact that that larger region not only is going to have regional representatives, but also has within it regular constituencies, first-past-the-post constituencies. So we add together all the votes that the SNP get, all the votes that Labour get, all the votes that the Lib Dems get for that region, and then divide by the number of constituency seats that they've already won. And that allows us to identify, right, who has the highest number, who's due to get the first seat. And then when you've apportioned the first seat, then you redivide by the number of constituency seats you've already won, plus the regional one you've already allocated. And you just start going around in rounds until you've allocated all the regional seats. So there's a relationship between the two. That's why it's sometimes called the top-up system, because it takes into account what's already happened in the constituency contests when it starts doling out those regional seats.
You've analysed voting trends, and you've analysed what people vote for. Do people vote in these elections tactically?
Some people do. I mean, one thing about proportional systems is that they are supposed to make it less appealing to vote tactically. So voting tactically is something that kind of makes sense in a first-past-the-post system. If there's one party you really, really don't like, then you just vote for another one and hope that that party will have more votes than the party you don't like. In a proportional system, in any kind of proportional system, including the regional element of the additional member system, then every vote counts. Every vote makes it more likely that you will get a representative. And so when you vote tactically, you're kind of not voting for the party you really like, and you're shelving your vote, you're parking your vote with a party that you're willing to live with because it's better than this one you really don't like. But you're doing real damage. You're doing more damage to the chances of your own party getting elected in a way in a proportional system, because every vote counts. Every vote matters. Every vote makes it more likely that you will get a representative from the party that you voted for. So, I mean, the argument is that it has made tactical voting less appealing in proportional systems. But we do know that it happens. And you can imagine it working in a number of different ways in Scotland. First of all, we have the constituency element. So you could clearly have tactical voting and the constituency element of the election in May. But one thing that's slightly tricky about that is that it assumes that people are able to identify what the possible alternative is to this party that they really don't like. And often we get inconsistent messages from parties, each claiming to be the credible alternative. If you want to vote tactically, vote for our party. We are the party most likely to topple, whichever party it is that people don't like. And so it relies on voters having accurate information on who a possible alternative is, and certainly in the 2015 election, with the campaign materials we had coming through the door, I had 3 parties, each claiming to be the only party able to beat the nasty SNP. So it relies on accurate information, and that's not often easy to get, because each party wants to believe that it is the credible alternative. And we can't really rely on the polls, because in a local context, the sample sizes are often so small, it really is very difficult to identify sometimes what the second place party is. And we can't really rely on the last election. We can't really rely on 2011 results because the political world, the political landscape has changed so much in Scotland. So that's it in terms of a constituency vote. But you can imagine how it might be working in a list vote. And one obvious way would be, say you are an SNP supporter and you want to maximise the proportion of pro-independence parties in the Parliament. The SNP is going to win so many constituency seats, if we believe the polls, that it is going to be very hard for them to win additional list seats. Not impossible, but certainly challenging, particularly since the polls show that they're polling slightly less well in the regional votes than they are in the constituency votes. So there's a challenge there for the SNP. So if you want independence, then I suppose it would make sense on your regional vote to vote for another pro-independence party, like the Greens, for example, to maximise the proportion of people in the Parliament that support independence.
So why do all the parties come out with the line, both votes for us, please?
Parties want to maximise their vote share. They want you to vote for them in the constituency contest because there are constituencies throughout Scotland where it is not automatic that one party is going to win. The SNP isn't going to win every single constituency. There are two-way fights, there are three-way fights in constituencies, and so they want to earn your vote. And when it comes to the regional vote, well, that vote is what is, for many of these parties, likely to actually result in them getting representation in the Parliament.
Professor Ailsa Henderson on tactical voting, and the deadline for registering to vote in the Scottish Parliament election is midnight tonight, but you can submit an application for a postal vote at your local electoral registration office until 5 p.m. tomorrow. Further information available on the Electoral Commission website. Also details on the BBC Scotland news page. I wonder if there will be tactical voting.